I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books, so let's talk about books. There may be some sound coming from over here. Somebody is weed whacking. Today we're here for my reading wrap-up of April. It is something like the 27th, I believe, of April today. So I do have a few more days left in order to finish up my reading for the month, which I do plan on using with some books that I have in progress. I have not been very good about tracking what I've been reading, so hopefully I captured everything. I started off this month by reading The Apothecary Diaries, Volume 1 and 2, and I'm currently in the middle of Volume 3. For whatever reason, I've been really falling asleep while reading Volume 3. The Apothecary Diaries is a light novel. It's by Natsu Hyuga. It features this character, Mao Mao, who is kind of an apothecary apprentice. Her adoptive father is an apothecary for the Pleasure District. Mao Mao has been kidnapped and given to the palace, and she starts out as a servant girl. She catches the eye of this young, beautifully handsome eunuch. His name is Jinshi, and he has some level of status in the palace, but it's not completely clear why. And he basically takes Mao Mao under his wing. He recognizes that she has a lot more to her than otherwise anticipated, and she ends up solving a bunch of mysteries with her kind of random knowledge. She has good problem-solving skills, and she has fairly good knowledge through her apothecary trainings. Anyway, she starts working for one of the consorts in the rear palace, and it follows her through these various mysteries. I enjoy it very much, and I'm not quite caught up in the reading with where I am at the anime, but I've been having a really fun time. Like, weirdly deeper than you would think story. I finished reading this book this month. That is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This was an incredibly fast read. I read this in about 2 days, but in really like 2 sittings. I know for a fact that this has not hit me or impacted me as much as it does for other people. And I know that this is a very beloved book. I really enjoyed my time with it. I think it impacts people in a similar way as The Little Prince has impacted me. And I do see some parallels with The Little Prince in the setting being in the desert, in like the Sahara. So I like those parallels, but I found this one a little too simplistic and lacking in some of the, what I would say are more real world considerations. Basically, this book follows a young man who has dreamed of this purpose for himself, is to go to the pyramids in Egypt and find some sort of treasure there. Meets some like magical guy who tells him to go forward and do that, gives him some advice, and gives him these like magic rocks, I think. And he then finds himself, across the Mediterranean, and in his journey in northern Africa, he works for this guy for a period of time, saves up some money, and then he is at this oasis for some period of time. And I really enjoyed his time at the oasis. I thought that was quite nice. He meets an alchemist. He serves as a foil. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this. This is very heavy on like God and purpose. For me and how I see the world, it wasn't incredibly relevant. but I can see how it would be impactful to people. So that's kind of how I felt about this. It was definitely a quick and easy and fun read. I definitely had a good time with it, but it wasn't groundbreaking as it might be for other people. I also read a book called The Accidentals by Guadalupe Nettle. I read this on NetGalley, and this was a collection of 8 short stories. A lot of these stories I just frankly don't remember anymore, and I waited until today to write my review. So the only stories that are locked in my memory are the 2 that were the most memorable. So the stories were Imprinting, The Fellowship of Orphans, Playing with Fire, The Pink Door, A Forest Under Earth, Life Elsewhere, The Accidentals, and The Torpor. And for me, where this really started to pick up was The Pink Door. The first few stories had this very, like, unsettling, not quite ominous, but just very, like, unrooted, floaty, weird vibes. The deeper I got into this, I actually, like, really appreciated how uniquely, like, unsettling this work was. And it's not very descriptive. It's quite sparse in its language, and yet there's just this, like, unsettled, very muted, unsettled feeling. The Pink Door was a story that follows this man who, him and his wife notice this weird business / house has popped up in their neighborhood, has this pink door, and it ends up being this place where you can wish for things. And so we kind of get like a classic tale, almost like The Monkey's Paw, but then it's also told in such a fresh way that I really appreciated that story. I thought it was very fun. And A Forest Under Earth was so visually impactful for me, really felt a lot of the feelings of that story and really felt entirely enclosed in this story. It was very effective, and I don't even remember how it ended, but just the feelings of that story were very strong. Often I couldn't tell the gender of the narrator until quite a ways in, and it almost felt like I was getting tricked, and it was very, like, strange the way that you would get, like, more rooted into the story as it went, but the beginning was so, like, unsettling that it really carried through the whole story. So I definitely don't regret reading it. I thought it was good. I got this from NetGalley with permission from the publisher as an e-arc. And I guess I should say when it's coming out. I think it's coming out in a couple days. By the time this video comes out, this will be published already. This is published on April 28th. So if that sounds interesting to you, go check it out. Oh my god, I just remembered. The last story, okay, I just saw that this describes, and in The Torpor, we meet a woman who lives with her children in a dying world where it is better to be asleep than awake. I completely forgot about this. I actually had very conflicting opinions about this last story that I completely put out of my mind after. This is one of the reasons why I didn't rate it for so long or write a review for so long, is because I felt very, very conflicted about this last story. I completely forgot about that. I feel like I would have to reread it to know exactly why I was so unsure about it. It just didn't seem like it was being completely responsible with what it was talking about. There's one that's basically about COVID and sheltering in place. It talks a lot about, like, it's a way for the government to control you, and I thought that was maybe a little simplistic and not nuanced enough. It was a little strange. I completely forgot about that until just now. Next thing that I read from NetGalley is called Arcana, The Lost Heirs by Sam Prentice Jones. This is a graphic novel. There's definitely queerness in this story. There is also found family and witchcraft. So it really sounds like a lot of the graphic novels that I've read. One of the big highlights of this graphic novel is it's very beautifully and uniquely illustrated, and the illustration style I really, really enjoyed. Especially the kind of quieter scenes of like domestic life. The story follows this character who is becoming aware of gosh, I genuinely don't even know the gender of this person, so I'm going to say there, but I don't know if that was the pronouns in the story, so apologies if I'm incorrect. The main character is getting exposed to this previously unknown magical society because they have an innate magical ability and have kind of been caught doing magic. And then we kind of get taken into this underground magical society. It has a structure based off of tarot, and so the people in charge are called the Major Arcana, and we get these like kind of chapter breaks that have illustrations of tarot cards, which was really cool to look at. It was fun to see that presented in this creative structure. I thought the friendships, the relationships were a little hurried, a little rushed, and I think over time things will develop a little bit more because there definitely will be more coming, because this story does not end really in a satisfying way at all. There is just the introduction to a story, which is probably the biggest con that I have for it, besides the relationships feeling very quick. Yeah, I did enjoy it. I would be interested in reading the next volume, but I'm not sure after that if I would really want to continue on. It was fun, but it wasn't like my favorite thing in the world. I started reading The Hidden Side of the Moon by Joanna Russ, which is a collection of short stories. And I read the first short story in this collection, which is called The Little Dirty Girl. Just adored this. I adored this story. I thought it was so well written. It really put me in this place. I could see everything that was happening. And it is this like lovely metaphor. It really did remind me a bit of Ursula K. Le Guin's writings. I think Joanna Russ is a bit of a contemporary of hers. It was just so good. It was not a science fiction story. It was really about this woman who takes care of this dirty little girl who kind of mysteriously flits in and out of her life. There's something going on with her where she's not quite real. So I'm very excited to read more stories from this collection. I am in the middle of quite a lot of things from my library. And also I am reading The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. This one is definitely something that's a little bit hard for me to fully grasp at all times. It's a little bit dense. Something about the way that it's written is not very easy for me to capture what's going on at all times. Part of it, I think, is that the character, I'm just like a little bit disinterested in following the character so much, and I'm more interested in following the concepts that are being explored around the character. This explores different ways of living, different societies. I still feel like I don't know everything that's going on. I don't feel like I can really talk about this book very well, but I am, I think, about halfway through it. So I do hope to finish this before the month ends, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because it is a bit chunky. I have 2 library rentals that are due incredibly soon. The Apothecary Diaries Volume 3. That is due in one day. I need to finish this book because I love it and I do have a great time with it. I'm about 2/3 through this book. I am also a little over halfway through Walking Practice by Dolki Min. I have been wanting to read this book for quite a long time. I got this from my library and I'm so excited. It took forever. I was on the waiting list for a long time to read Walking Practice, and there's like a ton of people waiting to read this book. It's a very short book, so I should be able to finish this before the library rental is due, but I do need to set aside some time to do that. This is about an alien who assumes a human visage and consumes humans for sustenance. This alien is feeling some conflicts with that, but has like a very set process for hunting people down. And it is a really interesting book to be reading while this whole month I've been exploring what it means to be a high masking autistic person. And this entire book could be a metaphor for like masking and other things as well. There is cool explorations of changing genders and gender presentation because this alien is able to assume the appearance of different types of people. I have been really enjoying this. I mean, some parts of it make me extremely uncomfortable, but it has been a very like immersive experience. I like feel the feelings of this alien. Like there is this description of going up these flights of stairs and just like falling apart and disintegrating and howling in pain, and then like getting put back together into this human body. And in the midst of this, there are also these really compelling illustrations of like what this form looks like, and there's also these really compelling descriptions of what this alien body looks like. I have been loving it. Highly recommend this book. I don't know how it ends yet, and if I finish anything, I will check in again before this goes up. Hello, I am back now. I think it's the 4th. It is the 4th of May, and I need to update you about some books that I did finish by the end of April. I only finished one that I was in the middle of, but that is Walking Practice by Dolki Min. I have already returned it, so this screen, I'm sure once I pop this back on, it'll go away from being displayed. So unfortunately, I lost the quotes that I had highlighted, so I won't be able to share those. In the end, there's a translator's note that this work has played with the spacing of text to get like the sense of the character's mind in some sort of way that could not have been replicated from the original Korean language. And it was actually so cool to have these moments in this work where you kind of have to slow down and like piece the words together, because there is something happening in the state of the mind of this creature. I definitely was concerned, especially with like sexual violence. I'm extremely sensitive and squeamish. In whatever way this like didn't trigger that, it was actually fine for me. Just so you know, there are like extremely violent acts associated with sexual acts at the same time. Be aware. That is what I have finished. I have also finished reading The Dispossessed. I finished reading this yesterday morning, and I finished reading The Apothecary Diaries Volume 3 this morning. So those are the books that I had been reading. I will talk about The Dispossessed and The Apothecary Diaries Volume 3 in the next reading wrap-up, because I firmly finished those in the month of May. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what did you finish up this month that you really enjoyed, really disliked, left you feeling nothing? Let me know whatever you want to let me know. If you enjoyed this, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think would also enjoy it. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back again soon.